So yeah, chapter 18, and yeah, this fungus. Um,
I don't really know what else to call him, to be honest.
oh yeah, I guess he's like a mushroom. Yeah, like I said
Yeah,
before.
just the Fungus Kaiju. So, for me, just right off the bat, I guess a couple of things that I want to talk to you about, or I guess just talk about in general, are first, I love how lighthearted it is, kind of right at the beginning before it takes that super serious shift.
Yeah.
You know, that's kind of I guess, a bit of a constant theme in this series so far is
Mhm.
you have this very intense art style, but there's this very light side to it with all of the comedy and the jokes that go on between all the characters and things of that nature.
Yeah.
And I gotta say, I have kind of loved that about the series overall so far. You know, the dialogue and the interactions between Kefka and Reno has been like really, really good. You know, it's very playful. There's a bit of a mentor role there.
Yeah.
And, we see that right in the beginning, though, right? Where
Mhm.
he says to Reno, "Oh, hey, use your suit to bind your wounds and stuff like that." But then it's like, then again, who am I to lecture you? And he's like laughing it off, even though, Reno's half dead over here. But
Yeah.
they're still making light of the situation, which is just, again, it's a natural kind of part of this series at this point. Although there's a very super serious situation going on around it, there's always that little bit of time for comedy, and I like how that's interjected. To be honest, just once again, I think that's kind of necessary given the time. You know what I mean?
Of
It's
course.
it's COVID, times are bad, so you got to find a way to inject humor and lightheartedness into every situation, and that's what we're seeing here.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. The relationship is like, I love it, man. It's like a big brother kind of. And it is a mentor esque because he is older, so to speak. But they're in the same, essentially, the same unit.
Mm-hmm.
So but I really do like their like camaraderie. It's just really enjoyable, especially like he's in like this scary looking form. So I think any other person would probably be like, pretty freaked out. So
Well, it's funny that you mentioned yeah, his form is really gruesome, right? It's pretty creepy
yeah.
looking. But I love how on page 2, it's almost chibi,
Oh,
and it,
cool.
and it looks really good despite being a chibi. It works again just for the series. So
Yeah.
it just goes to speak to the I guess the artistic variation that Matsumoto is able to hit, and I kind of
Mhm.
love it because he can go from super serious to chibi in a flash.
Yeah.
And I find for some series it can be difficult to balance that, but we get it right in at the beginning, and then it's very serious for the rest of the chapter, so it's appropriate and it feels well timed. And then from there, it's just an escalation of, okay, we're gonna get more hype, more hype, more hype, and then a
Yeah.
little bit of a subversion of the problem. So.
Yeah. And like I mean, my quick thoughts on this chapter, like obviously great art. It's a fight, it's a fight chapter. So we get some pretty cool like moves. We kind of like never really seen before with him in this Kaiju number 8 form, which is like his mouth extends. Well, like it seems like his like vertebrae kind of lights up a little bit, kind of similar to like a Godzilla, and just like his mouth extend, he like stop blasts, or like before attacking him. I think that was pretty like that was a neat thing. And I don't know, obviously down the line, we're probably like, what did I just do? Or maybe it was inherent. You know what I mean? Because I did mention last week where he's there's still some things we don't know of his like powers or what he could
Oh
do.
yeah.
So it's
Well, he
nice to
doesn't
see
have a
like,
clue, right?
yeah, but like it looks like inherently like okay, like yelling could like stop some stuff.
Yeah, and I don't even. Again, it's just so early to say, right? Because talking about the part you are where you can see, the different sections of his spine, and we can see that almost, all for one, or sorry, one for all cowl kind of
Yeah.
electricity going through the spine, and then yeah, the teeth expand, and he just like screams, right? I wasn't expecting that in any way, shape, or form.
No,
I don't
same.
know, out of everything that kind of could have happened there, that's definitely not what I was expecting. So to see I'm not even really a new technique, but just to see a different application of the power was kind of
Yeah.
interesting because, again, as you mentioned, we don't really know any of his abilities. The biggest, I guess, display that we've seen so far has been that ability that he has to, kind of, I guess, almost boost himself, right? Where his leg kind of separates and it creates like an anchor point so that he
Mhm.
can, throw extra strength and energy behind his punches and stuff like that.
Yeah.
That's really the only, out of the box thing we've seen from him. So, it's kind of interesting that we get a technique like that, but the next thing you see is he's basically just straight back into the aggression and the physical attacks. There's no other development really here from, I guess, a actual ability standpoint. But I think what more is being kind of on display here is the, I guess, monster side of the kaiju kind of coming full strength. And we see
Well,
that as soon as like that first panel where he's like, "Oh, so this is what you've been shooting the hell out of their bodies with," and
yeah,
the black wisps coming off of them. The eyes they're not, I guess, clean cut. They're kind of, again, you got more wispiness to them. Even the his, I guess, iris or pupil. I don't even know if you would actually call that in that. Again, they're not like solid forms, right? They're almost like liquid or gas. They're like flowing off of him, which we haven't seen before either.
no, for sure. It's like it's like an anger. You know what I mean? Like you see it, but it's funny that you say that. Like, yeah, his more monstrous forms comes out, like, which is true, but he still keeps his like, human mind, because like, during the whole chapter, again, it's mainly a fight chapter. You see cool attacks, you see him like, just rushing this like mushroom kaiju just like nonstop, where the kaiju wants to get away. But and then even in that like kaiju number 8 form, he's still like, oh, your core's, he knows where his core is. He's
Yeah,
still
he's
like,
still very cognizant. I got you. He
yeah,
hasn't like lost out to the monster.
no, of course
Yeah,
not.
that's true. Which, you know, there are a lot of art, I guess, depictions in this that would make me argue against that. You know what I mean? The panel I just mentioned, or the first panel where his jaw starts to dislocate extra and stuff like that.
Yeah,
Even where there's one other one. Where is it? When he's actually gonna do the punch about, I guess, just almost past the midway point of the chapter, where he says, "Better brace yourself because I'm gonna punch straight through it." That
yeah,
is very different from all of the other punch facial expressions we've kind of seen so far. There's
mhm.
clearly like a killing intent in this one. You know what I mean? There's a personal anger to it. It's not just a business thing, if you know what I mean, where, oh,
Yeah,
you're a kaiju and I have to kill you because I'm part of the defense force. It's like, no, you hurt my friend, you hurt my comrade, and just be prepared to die, kind of thing.
yeah. No, I mean, I agree with that, but it's also like, well, I mean, killing kaiju's, I guess, doesn't seem that bad because they be killing humans, so right back at you, I guess. So, and especially with, again, we don't know a lot, so for him to just come out and like, yeah, you're done because you've been hurting my friends, I really enjoy it, and just like the speed that he like goes about, like, because we've seen this flathead dude, pretty like, oh man, he has some interesting abilities. You can't even see his like mushroom bullets or whatever he's throwing at these guys. So to like Kefla to just like stop all that and then consistently coming at him, which is a barrage, and it's just awesome. Like I love action, like chapters like these are just like, man, it's like so like kinetic and it's just nonstop. So I really enjoyed it.
Were you surprised by, I guess, how fast this fight goes? Maybe not how fast it goes, but this was going to be the first, humanoid kaiju versus humanoid kaiju fight that we were having, and I actually, I think, expected it to be probably on the opposite end of the spectrum in terms of the winning
Yeah,
side.
no, yeah, I remember that from last week. You thought he'll have his first loss or something like that. I was kind of
Yeah, but clearly that's not what they were going for, right?
like,
Fungus Kaiju just gets blown away right out of the gate. The
yeah,
first attack, he's like, "Oh, I'll go bigger." And then, you're like, "Oh, crap." So that's going to be tough. But then we get that yelling move. And then right after that, right? He's just in his face, boom, throws a punch. The corpses come out, boom, he shreds through the corpses, starts punching through everything. You know, I wasn't expecting that in any way, shape, or form. So yeah, sorry. Going back to my question, were you
I mean,
surprised
like,
by this
I
because it came
mean,
out of nowhere?
yes and no. Like, he's the main character, so like, I was like, all right, let's see what he can do. I wasn't expecting like, oh, he's gonna have a tough battle. I was honestly like, I just mainly I wasn't like, oh man, I wasn't thinking it was gonna be a beatdown. Like, I was thinking like,
Yeah. Okay.
I was thinking like, okay, like, he's gonna show off some moves and stuff like that. Equal for like, no, he's just straight up like, demolishes this dude, man. Like in this one chapter, which is, I mean, I love it. Like it's just like awesome. You know, like I want to see this animated so bad, but yeah, the velocity comes at him, like just the barrages of punches and like the fungus, trying to block some of them, but he's still healing, but still not at the same time because it's just so much. So very obviously very One Punch Man esque of like, oh man, these battles are like hyper, if you want to call it. So
Oh yeah. There's a real. It's almost I guess the kinetic side of it, the everything about it is almost the frame usage, the way the panels are, everything's almost like over exaggerated, or maybe not over exaggerated, but you turn it up to 10, and that's kind of what One Punch Man has been about to an extent, and there's definitely some similarities here. My other question to you is, well, I guess it's kind of a two in one. So, A, why do you think the Fungus Kaiju was kind of so thrown off or unprepared for this? Because you would think that he'd have some sort of semblance of how strong, Kefka would be. And then on the other side of the coin is there's the one panel on page 15 where in the bottom right one, it says something is off. It's taking longer than usual to heal the damage. What is that? So again, sorry, to phrase it as, I guess, like two questions is, one, what do you think of his reaction to Kefka's strength? And two, what do you think is kind of maybe the reasoning behind the lack of healing? Do you think it's like a kaiju versus kaiju thing, or do you think it has something innately to do with Kefka? Anything of that?
Oh, that's a good thing. That's a good question when it comes to like a kaiju versus kaiju. Like, maybe they can't heal when they fight each other. Maybe. I was thinking more like Kefla's suit or form has to do something with it. This guy clearly knows he's the number 8th. But I guess he doesn't. He expected like, okay, this is easy pickings because like it's a human, right? I mean, or like I assume it's a human, right? Because we still don't know again a lot.
Actually, I don't think he knows that. Hold on one second. I think very early on in the chapter, give me 2 seconds. He mentions that, why are you, so page 3, not that I care, but why are you getting in the way of another kaiju like yourself? So I guess he actually doesn't know that he's a human, which
Good
raises
question.
another bunch of questions to me,
Well,
for me as
yes,
well.
yeah, that is true. Well, I mean, just because he has that knowledge, I guess he just thought he was a big shot. So that's all I could really think of. I mean, to me, again, I still think he's the fungus dude is he's strong, but like comparably to like other people or other kaiju, humanoid kaiju will obviously or probably meet. He's like on the bottom of the totem pole. So
I could say that. Yeah,
but
no,
like
that's fair. But when you're,
but against humans, like well, shit, you can probably
yeah, exactly.
kill a whole shopping mall. You know what I mean? Um, Now when it comes to his like why can't he heal? It could I just think it's probably his kaiju number 8 form where it could probably cancel other kaiju's abilities or like
That's funny because that's kind of what I
inherent
was thinking.
inherent abilities maybe like obviously like he the fungus guy could still like launch attacks, but he can't like use his like body to heal faster, so it could probably like cancel each other out. I don't know, it could be like something in his bloodstream or something like that, so it could be simple as like or yeah, actually it could just be simple as what you said before. Maybe when two kaijus fight, one thing has to give or something like that, so that's why
I I agree
kaijus
with
don't
what you're
fight.
saying though, in terms of the way I was looking at it was, it's almost like an anti-kaiju kind of thing. You
Yeah,
know,
and I'm pretty sure that's the point, right? Because he's fighting for humanity when you think about it.
yeah, it's just, that makes me wonder, how is that going to tie into the bigger parts of the plot? Because we've got we got the fungus kaiju who doesn't know that Kefka's a human. Then we have, the bug back from the original chapter that turned him into this. And then now we're seeing this kind of come almost full circle where he's able to disable the abilities of the fungus kaiju. So is, kaiju number 8, as we'll just refer to, because we don't know the actual name of the form or if there's a particular kaiju name behind it, is he almost like an anti-kaiju, for maybe it was a role given to keep like a power balance in check, but it ends up going to Kefka instead or something like that, or who knows, maybe it was a kaiju designed by humans to be, like an anti-kaiju, as I'm saying. So I just think it's interesting that so early on we're being exposed to this idea that, Kefka clearly has this ability to mess with other kaiju just
Yeah,
from, an ability standpoint. So I'm kind of wondering how that's going to play into the overarching story going forward. Is that going to be kind of his trump card that he'll have to figure out how to use, where,
yeah.
all of these kaiju are obviously going to have different abilities. So if he can disrupt them, how is that going to change the fight and kind of things of that nature? You know,
I,
what if they could base more technology off of Kefka later on, right? And you could use those, turning them into rounds or something to further battle against the other kaiju's, right? Like you've got the burst
yeah.
rounds, you've got the freeze rounds, then maybe you've had like a disabler round that's all based off of Kefka's energy or something like that. That'd be kind of cool.
No, that's pretty dope. I do have a question for you. I noticed. I mean, it's probably not intentional, right? But like, I just noticed it a lot because I mentioned before, where like I think the humans, like their suits are based off of like kaiju,
Hmm.
especially like number 8, where you see his spinal cord a lot in like this chapter, or at least in most fights. Where
Hmm.
like it's in most panels where like even before when he's charging up his scream, or like when he's like the fungus is like shielding up, and or even when he's preparing, like when he's punching him. So you think that's significant? Where like the human is based off like maybe Kaiju number 8's like significant. You know what I
It
mean?
maybe that's where I'm almost wondering if it's kind of come back to what I was just saying, where you have this kaiju that was maybe created by humans, you
Mm,
know, and it was programmed to find somebody suitable for it. Maybe there's something about it that it could like maybe it's almost a reversal, right? Because we don't know if Kefka's lack of ability to use the suit is because of his kaiju or if he just naturally can't use the suit, right? It could be either or. So if it's the former where it's the kaiju impacting it, then, that doesn't matter. But if it's the latter where he can't use the armor just naturally, what
yeah.
if creating this bug-like kaiju to infect humans is, in order to compensate for that, so they create something that's like it's a bioorganic weapon in a weird way where the suit doesn't work for everybody, so how can we take that to like the next level where people who don't have suit I guess cohesion or relatability, when we can't do it that way, what's our option? Oh well, what if we turn them into these? Because if you think about it, right, it's technically just an extra layer of skin for him almost, right? Because he can
Mm,
turn his arm into it, he can not turn his arm into it, so it's almost just like having an extra skin. So if they could figure out a way to mass produce that, that would be way more effective and way more applicable to defeating the kaiju than just the suits. So is it significant? I guess I think it will be. Again, we're only into what, volume 2 here with the we're not even at 20 chapters, so we're gonna have to see
yeah.
for sure.
Yeah. What do you think the next chapter like is gonna go? Now that the other team has like, oh, there's a humanoid kaiju.
That's funny. That was actually going to be my question to you as well. And to be honest, I don't know. I was not expecting a run in this early. I thought we were probably going to get one more quick escape where, he's able to get off scene before the other humans arrive. However, obviously that's not the case. So I guess I think it's going to go either one of two directions. The vice captain's going to show up and he's going to either out Kefka, or it'll be almost the opposite. And, Kefka ends up having his identity revealed, but the vice captain ends up keeping it under wraps because he wants to see what's going to happen. Because we've already kind of been hinted at that character is kind of sneaky. He's got though that very, I guess, anime slash manga motif of the snake character where they just have like their eyes as slits, they have a very blank face, they have that weird like bowl cut hair, you know what I mean? I'm reminded of Terumi and Blaze Blue. I can't think of the name of the evil captain in Bleach right now who has the extending blade,
Oh,
guys like
Jin.
that.
Yeah, I
Thank
know.
you. They're all very sneaky, like they're supposed to kind of be snake-esque, right? Because they have all of these subplots going on where they're got all these machinations and stuff like that. So I could see it kind of going down either one of those routes. How about you?
For me, I think it'll be because it's just one next next chapter. I don't know what's gonna happen. For me, I think the fungus dude is gonna go away, get away, either that or get
Oh,
captured.
for sure.
It's either or. I'm hoping. I'm actually. I wonder who's gonna be gonna encounter him in his kaiju form. I think it's gonna be the girl, with the pigtails.
No,
'Cause-
I don't think so because they already had that reveal. So
mm,
running into him kind of doesn't make sense. And then
man.
it, and
Well,
then
yeah, you're right. I guess. Well, I was thinking more like maybe she could be a distraction. Could be that, So,
hmm,
because she did see him run off, so why wouldn't she be like right, nearby, so to
I
speak.
gotcha.
So, because I mean, I'm not like shipping them or nothing like that. I'm not really big on that, but it seems
No, I gotcha.
yeah. But I mean, I just think the fungus is gonna get away. It's gonna be kind of crazy because like, oh shit, I'm finding out. But I honestly don't really know how's it gonna go. I could see honestly that is a good idea. Like I could see the vice captain coming out of nowhere and be like, what's going on here? So I definitely agree with that, especially with his like character design. But he's still, but it's funny because he's kind of like enjoyable. But then again, he could have a hidden agenda. Like
Exactly. It's too early to fully form an
yeah,
opinion on him.
yeah,
Like, I like
exactly.
him so far. He's giving Kefka the chance and stuff like that. But again, these snake
Yeah.
motif characters, you never know what they're thinking.
But like he has the agenda that we see like as we read, but he could also have like a hidden one where we as reader haven't seen yet. You know what I mean? For
Yeah,
all he could be working for the Kaiju, alliance or whatever they're gonna call them, like evil organization they're gonna call themselves or something like that.
I
But yeah.
gotcha.
But other than that, I love the chapter. Awesome, like action chapter. I mean, this whole like going back to Shonen Jump in general, man, this whole like week's just been, or I guess this issue's been a lot of battle fights. So it's gonna be good.
Agreed. So with that in mind, let's move on to our next series.